This is one of the things that I love the most about like what's happening in my life right now is we talk about the pendulum all the time, and it's like, and I love how much we had talked about it for so long, because it was, again, it's the same thing as always, like God's just preparing me with the tools and helping me sharp and refine my ability to use these tools before those big moments that I really need to use them, and those little moments, you know, in between where he's like, yeah, you see how hard you go to one side of the emotion and then you let it swing to the other. Okay, now we're just little by little, and now it's like, you know, on Monday, this, you know, it's been 3 years since I've had a feeling of that overwhelming connection to a woman and having that in my life. It comes in, and on Monday, you know, the first time we have sex, I am at the highest of highs I've ever felt, because it's the first time having sex since going through the therapy for the childhood trauma of being sexually assaulted. So it's like I spent these last 2 years working through all that garbage, changing over that programming that had instilled in me from the incident, and then coming out the other side of it, and oh my God, I keep saying it, I'm like, my son's birth, the therapy that I went through that relieved the trauma, and that sex are the top 3 spiritual experiences of my life currently. It was batshit crazy. But that was the cool part, is even at the beginning, like as intense as it was, and like we both knew, like the second we touched, it's on. So it was like, I'm not going to hug you when you get here, it's nothing personal, we have to sit down and have a quick conversation about this. And that conversation was all just about like, I don't want you doing something now that you were going to have feelings of guilt, remorse, resentment, shame, or any of that towards yourself. We had a really good conversation about it, and then, you know, off we went. But after it's done, she leaves, and I am just high as fuck. Like the best drugs ever couldn't touch where I'm at. And it was so cool because while I'm up there, I'm just talking to God. I'm like, all right, I'm up here. I know how a pendulum works now. What do we do? And it was like, all right, sit down and let's just meditate. And I just sat down and relaxed, and I do this breathing meditation. And I did that. And it was like I was watching myself instead of, oh my God, this feeling's so amazing. I'm gonna hold on to it. I'm gonna hold on. And it's, I could see it. It's like when you're holding on to it, it's trying to come down. It's like anything else. You're creating that pressure. Yeah, that pressure on it. And eventually it's stronger than you are. That force is stronger than my ability to hold it. So eventually it's like once that pressure, then you just swing. And now I'm into the net. And instead it was like, I'm up here. Let's just slowly come down. Let's slowly bring it down and be okay that that moment happened. It was euphoric, it was amazing, it was spiritual. Okay, now I'm back down here, I'm back to centered and calm. And then I was like, all right, super exciting day. I just want to go to sleep. I just want to relax and rest. And it's like, you have your 7:30 meeting tonight. You secretary this is your obligation. This is why we bring back to center. Because if I let it just swing, or I'm spending my time trying to hold the moment, I'm definitely wasting too much energy, and then I find any excuse to not continue doing the things that got me to that moment in the first place. Finally realizing how to enjoy the euphoric moments from that conversation we had so long ago where I flipped out and you're like, oh, am I not supposed to fucking have fun in life? What am I supposed to do? And it's just like, no, man, there's a way. There's a way. And then he showed it, because it was the highest of highs I've ever had. You know, it just in absolute joy, sexual pleasure, all that. And to be able to be that high and then come down back to center and then just get right back on the path. It was just like, whew.
That reminds me of like that night I called you, you know, as high as that was of a moment. And like you say, it's as much got to do with the other person as it does all of the stuff that led you there and getting to see it come to fruition. But then it's like, all right, well, let me keep doing what got me here. And it's like, well, there was some issues that I was trying to get past. So it's like, all right, well, I'm not going to let this be taken. Or it's, let me call and tell somebody else what's going on. Okay, you know, I think I'm doing okay, but there's this situation, there's this. And I also want to tell you about my high. And then say, that way I can say it out loud and say, but I am observing it. I know I've known what I'm doing before, blah, blah, blah. And still enjoying it, but just really not letting yourself go fucking rampant.
Not getting lost.
Yeah. And still, and that's how we got there, was like letting other people know what's going on, good and bad. So it's like, well, this is a pretty high good thing.
And even that was cool as hell, because part of what you were referring to when you said that was, you know, you knew while you're having this amazing moment, I'm still in the darkness of my situation of separation from my son's mother, all the shit that I was going through with that, you know, regarding the childhood trauma and all that. I was just in this really bad place, not nearly to the depth that I was, you know, months prior to that happening. But it's like for you to call me, because I still remember, you're like, I was a little hesitant about telling you, because it's like, yeah, like I get it, but it was cool because after that, I genuinely was in that moment happy for you too and what you had. And then another one of our buddies, you know, it's the same thing. He met this girl who lives in a totally different state, but they're just head over heels and they're in love and he's loving every moment of it. And I remember after having that conversation, the next day, I text that guy just saying, hey man, I just wanted to say how happy I am for you that you found what you found. I'm so happy that you've got this person in your life, and I'm so happy that you have this love in your life. And it was like, I genuinely felt it with you, and it was like with him, I was like, just feels like the thing I should probably keep doing. But it was once I started extending that, showing love to other people, finding love in their life, it just started to whittle away my own bitterness about my own situation. And it was like, yeah, like I don't want to be that person who's like, fuck all you people in love, like you guys are fucking assholes rubbing this shit. And I'm like, no, like, you whiny fuck, like that's not what this is about. It's these people are the same people that picked you up when you were at your absolute worst from your situation. You better fucking show them some love and appreciation and show them how awesome it is for you to see that. And if you hadn't had that conversation, if you hadn't brought it up, even with the hesitation of knowing where I was at compared to where you were at, it wouldn't have put that thought in my head. It wouldn't have put that feeling in me where I genuinely felt like, dude, that's fucking awesome for them. And then I got to take that little seed planted, start carrying it on.
And that's, yeah, it's like we never know how we're going to affect other people, and so we just do our best, and that's what's cool too. It's like, I don't know if I should or shouldn't. It's like, well, no, just do what you're always doing that seems to be working and that you've seen other people do, and then that's where you see that effect. And so, like, we never know how it's going to affect people, and that's cool. But, you know, the snowball effect. So it's like, I liked it the first time I heard that. You can't, like, if you want to see something, you can't be anti the other thing. It's got to be, like, I'm not anti-war, I'm pro-peace. So like in this case, rather than being anti-hate, it's like to become pro-love adds on to that, because if I'm anti-war, then I'm just going to start screaming at people who are for war, and now I'm creating more of the same. But when I'm like pro-love, and it's like, oh, I'm glad that happened to you, and you get that genuine feeling, and then you start adding it on and spreading it, then you find more love in your heart, because that's what's going on and that's what we're growing. And then it's like, and then here we are months down the line, and it just happens, and it's just fun watching that stuff kind of happen.
And that's cool, because all of these people that saw where I was, you know, throughout that process and lent the hands to help me, that got me to the place where I am now. It's that thing of working on ourselves as an individual. It's so much more about those people who are around us, because you guys, like, I know how exciting that feeling is. And it's weird, like, looking at, like, from me being me and looking at the people around me and being like, what a gift it is for them that that time and effort they put in with me got these results, instead of you guys giving me your time and effort and I'm still just fucking bitter and pissed off. You guys giving me your time and effort and love and I'm still just doing it my own way because I appreciate it, but you guys don't know what happened to me and blah, 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 and just staying in that shit. And I love having that feeling of knowing, like, how awesome that feeling was for me, getting to appreciate and having that moment for you guys. And then now knowing, like, holy shit, like, I'm that guy now that people around me get to see and be like, look what God does in somebody's life. Look what happens when you open up and you talk and you let it out and you share with other people and you allow their help to come in. Instead of trying to work away all my hate, it's what's the thing that is opposite of hate? And I need to start focusing and directing on that. It goes even back to, like, with my son's mother, repeating her name, like, you know, in prayer and just as a mantra, affirmation over and over. As disgusted as I was, as disgusted as I felt saying, it's like, I love this person, I love this person, I love this. And like, my mouth doesn't want to say the words. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? That piece, we don't love that piece. And it's just like, okay, I know that's my ego voice. I know that's the program isn't now. I'm telling you, shut the fuck up, because this is where I'm trying to get to, and I'm done listening to you tell me this. I'm listening to what they're telling me, which is pray for the people that you resent the most. Pray for good for them. And the best thing, I couldn't even pray for good things for her, because it was that I couldn't even get to a point where I even felt I could think that thought. But somehow it's like I can relate. Mother your child, best thing for your child is her being her best version. I can love the best version of her as a mother as my child. So I could envision the best version of her being the best mother to our child she could be, and that I could love. So it's like I stopped focusing on what the pain, the betrayal, the abandonment, the backstabbing, and focus on what's her potential she could be. That idea I can love, and that helped me at least get to the point where I could start doing those affirmations, those mantras, where I could literally reprogram my mind. This is how I actually want to think about someone. And it's the same as what I've been talking about lately in those moments where I'm just having those off moments or off days, or something just feels like it's churning and bubbling up inside me and I got that negative feeling. It's like now it takes moments before I'm just like, God, I have no idea what this is about, but I'm thanking you in advance right now, because I know all you're doing is working something out of me to build a better version of me. And every single motivational, inspirational, anybody, anything we listen to, they all have the same thing, man. It starts with that gratitude. Being grateful before it even happens. Knowing that what it is that you need is the best thing that's happening right now, even if it feels negative. Saying, I am so happy and grateful for this right now, because that euphoric state of feeling that I got to have with that woman, that was created by consistently thanking God in the moments where I didn't feel like that. And then when I'm there, holy shit, am I thanking God in that moment. I'm screaming thank you to God. So much of it is that, it's the polarity, because like we know the pendulum that goes on the law of rhythm. Every, for equal opposite, it's going to swing the other way. And then there's the polarity points. Because of what happened to me as a kid and all that sexual repression that I had, and then working through the garbage, working through the trauma, and then getting to that point, man, I was at such a level of not knowing what intimate sexual relationships, the beauty of them, what they could be. I was so closed off in so many areas, and then all that work builds up, and it was like, I literally had this moment afterwards where it's like my mind just felt like doors opening, fucking keys unlocking, like all these things just like pop, 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 like all these just amazing feelings in my head and my body of like, holy shit, I was so far on that end of the spectrum, and now I'm way over here on the absolute opposite end, where it's the greatest loving euphoric feeling in the world. And then even being there and him giving me that ability, like, to learn about the pendulum before, and then be able to come back down so I didn't have to crash back down into that negative side of it that I used to be in. It's just fucking crazy, bro.
Walk by faith, not by sight, like differently than I've ever heard it today. And a lot of this just, and I'm sure it's, because I heard it today, but also it makes sense that it all falls in there, so, just thinking about a lot of the things I've gone through where, I can't see how this is going to turn out, but, just having people tell me just do the next right thing at a time and don't worry about the results. And so when you were talking just about people who help us, and then we kind of grow up, and then we see it, we become very grateful, and then we want to do that for somebody else. And then how many conversations we've had where it's like, man, this person doesn't want to help me, and like, they're probably like, oh, I don't want to talk to this person, or I don't want to do this or that. And that's our point of view. So like, we've never been a part of something like that, so my sight says I'm taking up this person's time, and that's all I can see, not seeing, all the things that they're seeing, like yes, please, and like just being like thrilled to give that time, because like, I want to be a part of somebody else's boom moment, and not to mention all the other things that we get along the way, just from doing that, so then I hear that, and then I'm thinking just throughout the day, it's just kind of been subconscious thinking, just like even things with my kid's mom, where it's, I'll get bonuses or whatever, and just what I'm able to do is because she takes care of the kids, and we've been able over time to come to an agreement of, working together. So it's like, that's not my bonus, like another one of those things, like, yeah, the check has my name on it, but I'm not able to do a lot of the things I'm able to do if we're not working together. So that's married or not, we're divorced fully, like she has no rights to it, but that doesn't mean that's not our bonus, you know? So it's like, use my best discretion, and it's like, okay, so what's gonna make this where it's like, okay, I could give her, you know, $20, and then when she's determining whether or not she wants the kids extra time than her court papers say, is that gonna make it worth her while? You know, I know if it was me, I'd say get bent, you know, and vice versa. Like, I could give her the whole thing, and then it's like, well, you know, well, then why am I working all this and missing time? So it's like, you find that sweet spot, like, where I don't have to do this much, but then it's like, well, she doesn't have to do, and let's keep everybody happy. There's, you know, times where she'll call me, you know, having this financial trouble, and I'll, how much do you need, and send it over as a loan. So like, she's grateful in that moment, I'm grateful in that moment, because it's like, you know, one, I have the opportunity to be able to do that, and two, like, you know, the trust between us to be able to do that, because when it goes, it's originally as a loan, and three, you know, she does a lot of stuff to where I'm grateful enough to her to want to help. And then, so we'll go along, and I'm sure it's on her mind, because, you know, she'll tell me in our conversations shortly after, I didn't forget about you. And when I can sense that she's getting stressed, and I've had time to, you know, really think about it and not just do, and I'm like, don't worry about that money, go ahead and keep it, thank you. And it's another opportunity for me to thank her. You know, I heard this too before, like, so if I just like every 3 months gave her the same $200, at first, the first couple times, 1 or 2 times, it's like, we as humans, all of us, are grateful for it, and then it becomes a pattern, and then we just expect it. So then if you don't one time, it's like, well, what the, you know, now it's anger, versus when something is given randomly and at different intervals based on what's being done currently, there's gratitude on both parties, because I'm like actively thinking about what you're doing for me, to how much should I give you, and blah, 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 whatever, you know, and obviously within what I can, you know, on their part, like, oh, I wasn't expecting this, and oh, that's cool that you noticed. But like, so it goes back to the original thought of walk by faith, not by sight, but where it's like, you know, so she's limited to what she can do because she has the kids and taking good care of the kids, and then like thinking, oh my God, how am I gonna pay all blah, 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 blah. And so in her sight, it's like, I can't see a way out of this, but she's doing right things. And then I get the opportunity as somebody who it's not as big a deal to me as it is to her, where I'm like, there you go. And it's like, oh, cool, I didn't see any way of that coming about, and there it is. But again, you know, there's scales, so like things that I can't see my way out of, but I keep doing the next right thing. And how many times, and it's not just monetary, like all kinds of things, God moments where it's like, I can't see any way out of this predicament, but I just keep doing the next right thing. And I'm a planner, believe me, I'm a chess master. I can see, like, it's almost uncanny where, you know, like I can really almost tell the future just by, you know, using my intuition and putting things together. And still, to my best abilities, like, you could spend all the time coming up with all these scenarios and they wouldn't work out as well as just some of the stuff that I've watched happen that you would just never think of. And personally, I wouldn't even like want if I was making the plan, but when they happen, it's so perfect and everything works out so well, and it's just like, wow, all by doing the next right thing. And what do they say? Availability is the best ability. You know, so just by putting myself in right positions, and sometimes that's just by not screwing it up, because like I cannot see a way out, and now I'm at a point of neutrality, but I get so frustrated by not knowing what's gonna happen that not only do I not find a better way, but I just say F it and do some dumbass shit and now purposely, you know, cause things not to go so well. So like when I heard that walk by faith, not by sight, it really hit me differently than when you just hear stuff where that happens, where we'll hear something 100 times and you just kind of hear it, but then that one day it just hits you. And that for me was it today, where it's just like, you know, how many times will we just kind of go along and do the next, all these little right things, and then stuff just kind of happens, and so that for me is the biggest thing. It's like so counterintuitive, you know, like you see stuff and you just want to, you know, play it this way and play it that way, but I seen how that was working out for me, and that's the only reason that I was able to start having faith, because I was screwed. I was backed into a corner of my ways not working, which, you know, I have the gift of long suffering to have enough humility to say, all right, well, faith, I think it's stupid, but let's give it a shot, and just to watch it work, you know, where it's like, man, just allowing people to take time, even though it's like, man, these people probably want something from me. I have nothing to offer. Like, I'm so broken. I got nothing to offer, but my mind's telling me they want something. Even if it's not, again, monetary. Like, what are they going to brainwash me to do something that... But whatever. It's like, I was so screwed. I had no choice but to be humbled enough to start having faith. You know, little by little, you know, I don't even remember at this point how long it took for me to come to the realization of, oh, like, these people are getting joy out of helping me, and that's their way of showing gratitude for those that come before them by helping me, and they're not like rolling their eyes. And sometimes, you know, little stuff, but I mean, for the most part, they're really enjoying this and wanting to help me.